with Humairaa. If you could just briefly introduce yourself, then you could push it over to Awonke, then Awonke, same short introduction, push it over to Sagel, then Sagel, you can push it over to John in that order. So over to you, Humairaa.
Fantastic. Thanks, Trish, for the invite. And I just want to start off by saying that it's so lovely to see some familiar faces that I haven't seen in more than a year, Awonke and John. It's been such a long time. So thanks, Trish, for bringing us together again. My name's Humairaa. I am a Mandela Rhodes class of 2023 and like a Sagel Rhodes Scholar class of 2024. And I'm doing my MSc in Sustainability, Enterprise and the Environment currently. Really glad to finally have some sunshine here in Oxford. So that definitely puts a bright shine on things. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. For those who are interested in applying, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, etc. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity at the moment to review any personal statements, but I'd be really happy to answer any questions that you have today. Over to you, Awonke.
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, it's been a long time indeed, Humairaa. I think I share the same sentiments. I'm Awonke Sixabayi. I'm from here in South Africa, and I was Mandela Rhodes Scholar for the year 2023 with the University of Stellenbosch. I was busy doing my MPhil Urban and Regional Studies. Yeah, guys, I think I'm also free if you need assistance in terms of reviewing the applications and everything that is related to the applications. You can reach me on Facebook, Awonke Sixabayi, LinkedIn, Awonke Sixabayi. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I think I was speaking to Sagel. So it's good that we share information to people so that they can also be able to share, to apply and become, the leaders of tomorrow and all that. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me? Oh, great. So my name is Sagel, and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you so much, everyone, for making the time to listen and to speak, I guess. So I was Mandela Rhodes class of 2022. I did my MSc at UCT while a Mandela Rhodes Scholar. Right now, I'm also at Oxford, like Humairaa, in the Rhodes and Clarendon Scholarships 2024. And I'm still doing neuroscience, but now I'm doing a DPhil in neuroscience. And just like Awonke and Humairaa, I'm also very open to help with any application. You can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like if you want any tips or any extra questions you might have after this, I'm really open to help. Yeah, that's about me. I'm going to pass on to John.
Yeah, thank you. It's really nice to connect with my class here, class of 23, Humairaa and Awonke. And yeah, my name is John Mwati. I am Mandela Rhodes alumni, class of 2023. I was at the University of Cape Town where I did development economics. In my undergrad, I had done economics, so it was just like more specializing now into the field of development economics. Yeah, I think that's it. I would also echo what has been said by the previous speakers, that indeed I am open to guiding. The part of reviewing, I'm not so sure, because I don't know. I just want to start by saying off that there is no, the problem with reviewing people's essays is that you might end up giving them a perspective that is not necessarily what we think ought to be, because I think the diversity of the Mandela Rhodes scholars and the class, it gives it the authenticity and just allowing people to share their stories without telling them to share it in a particular way. You just allow people to be. So, well, I'm happy to guide it in other things, but reviewing the essay, I just want to say that I'm not able to. But thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. I totally understand what you've just said. Hopefully, maybe the other guests here can also relate to that. There's something that reviewers normally like when reviewing our essays. It's how natural and how unique your essay is. Well, of course, you can help people to go through your essays to probably tell you maybe you need to add a little more of this and more of that, but not you trying to copy paste how their story was to, yours. So I'm just gonna go now straight to what brought us here is basically understanding what the scholarship is about, any benefits that you will get should you get the scholarship, and what time you should expect to wait in this whole application process, and if you have any Q&As, if you have any questions for us. Yeah, so Humairaa, straight to you. If you could just briefly introduce what this scholarship is. Probably for some, they've just heard of it today, and probably some would think it's the scholarship that you and Sagel are having at the University of Oxford. So just give us a brief narrative of what it is about.
Of course. Okay, so I first want to start off by explaining what the Mandela Rhodes Foundation is. And so the Mandela Rhodes Foundation is essentially the legacy foundation of Nelson Mandela, as well as it was started with a bequest by the Rhodes Trust. And that's why it's called the Mandela Rhodes Foundation. And the Mandela Rhodes Foundation offers the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship. And I think it's really important to emphasize that the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship is more than just a scholarship. It's also a leadership program. And so it combines financial support with a character development and leadership development program that allows you to connect with other young people from across the continent while funding your studies in South Africa. And the overall process is just aimed at challenging you, helping you to grow, and connecting you to other young African change makers. Briefly touching on the leadership development program, I think it's important to mention that you can either do the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship as an honors program, so it's for postgraduate study, so you could do it as an honors 1-year program, which is what I did, or a master's program, a 2 years master's degree. And this is in any field at a recognized South African higher education institution. I would speak to my experience of just being a Mandela Rhodes Scholar for 1 year, and I think maybe perhaps Sagel and Awonke would be able to better speak to the associated parts of being in the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship for 2 years. When it comes to the leadership development program of the first year, you have a series of residential workshops. I think we had 3, if I'm remembering correctly. And these workshops are built around the founding principles of reconciliation, education, and then entrepreneurship and leadership. And the principles basically emanate from the idea that leadership begins with inner transformation. And so a lot of it is built around the Enneagram concept, which I'm sure the others will share more about. And the leadership development program is delivered primarily through a series of week-long residential workshops that you attend in South Africa. And thankfully, the foundation covers the cost of those workshops. Sometimes it can be really challenging attending those workshops because you have academic deadlines on at the same time. But on the flip side, it can also feel like a holiday because you get a chance to experience, stay in a hotel with people that you really enjoy. Working on concepts that are really helpful and necessary to your development. And then on the financial support element, the scholarship includes payment for your tuition fees, your registration fees, an allowance for study materials, research, and medical aid, as well as accommodation and meals. It also includes economy class travel to and from your home country to your South African university at the beginning and end of your degree. I will also preface that in my time, and I think this is the case currently as well, interviews are held in person in Cape Town. And so the trust, should you be selected for an interview after applying, they will cover the cost of your travel to and from South Africa as well as your accommodation, which is really helpful. I hope this answers the questions. I'm happy to touch on the criteria or the qualification criteria if this would be helpful, Trish.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Humairaa. That was a very good response to what the scholarship is about. I also have an idea of what it is. That's things that I didn't know about it. Like, for example, going for an in-person interview. All this time, I thought it was just a virtual interview because, Africa is quite diverse. So, probably the next question to Sagel. So now people are in the process of applying for this scholarship, and the deadline is actually 11 days from now. Quite unfortunate, but I still believe somebody can still pull through a good application to, submit it to the uni. So how, if I was to ask you, how does that application process look like?
So 11 days is not a lot, but I just want to give people hope. I know someone in my cohort who applied, I think she applied in like 3 days and she made it. So it's like, even if it's 11 days, I don't think you should sell yourself short. You should still give it a try, But in terms of the timeline, first of all, I think Humairaa gave us a really good outlook on what to expect once you're inside. So it's great. So now you have the motivation to apply, hopefully. So in terms of the timeline, it opened in March, the 17th of March. So it has been open for a while. So around from the 17th of March until the 21st of April, the most important thing really is for you to be finding your recommenders. So you have 3 references that you need. So you need to be getting that in order, writing your personal statement and also your essay, just making sure that all of that is written down before the 21st. I started really early thinking about my personal statement because I was paranoid about what I'm going to put inside. So I emailed. So in the time when the application opened, I went to LinkedIn and I messaged a lot of people. So that's how my timeline looked like. So I messaged a ton of people. I asked them, who did you get as reference? Why did you choose those people as references? Because you try to balance a little bit. And then I started writing. And then the 21st of April, that's when everything has to be submitted. You have to submit your reference, letter. Your referees need to submit their references before the 21st, or at least on the 21st. I'd suggest you do it a day before because you don't want the system to overload and then you panic and then the internet goes off. So try to do it as punctual as possible, at least the day before or in the morning of the deadline at least. And then your referees have to have their references submitted before you can submit your application. So that's really important. So try to remind your referees as much as possible. I was reminding them at least once a week, but then closer to the deadline, you want to do it at least every 2 days, for example. After that, you're going to only hear again in June. So there are 3 rounds of selections, but then technically they're internal selections. So you're only going to receive an email around June telling you that you have passed through round 2. They won't tell you why or how. It's a really good email. So around June, it's a good email if you get through. Around June, you're going to get that email telling you you've passed through round 2. And then another month will pass. In July, they're going to tell you you've passed through round 3. And then only in August you get, and during that time, nothing is happening. You're just receiving these random emails of every month. And then literally you don't have to submit anything. You're not going to get anything else. They're just going to tell you you've passed through the next round. And finally, in August, you'll be told. So once you've gone through round 3, in August, you'll be told if you qualify for the interviews. And then for international students, as Humairaa said, international students being if you're outside of Cape Town, outside of South Africa, your flights will be covered to come through. But then you need to plan around because visa can be a little bit problematic. So as soon as you have your application to the university and you know that you want to apply for Mandela Rhodes, start already thinking about visa processing times and things like that, because it can get in the way and you might actually miss the opportunity to come to the interviews. So those are also things to consider. So in August, you get your interview, invitation. If you're in Cape Town, it's just a matter of, going to the offices and having your interview in Cape Town. And then I think probably we'll talk about the interview later on in the session. So I'm not going to go deep into that. And then in October, that's when the interviews actually happen. So August, you get an invitation. October, that's when the interviews happen. And then at the end of October, you're going to be told whether you've passed the interview or not. So I guess it's kind of like 4 rounds. So because there's round 1, round 2, round 3, and then the interview round. And then you get an answer at the end of October. That's when you find out that you have been selected. So it's a pretty lengthy timeline. It's really long. But I think the what do I like the parallel timeline is like your timeline of the application. So the things that you have to do, the people you have to talk to. So for instance, before the interview, you want to have some time to do some mock interviews. You also need to kind of schedule that into your timeline. Once you know, okay, in August, they tell you you are accepted for the interview, then during the month of August, you want to schedule as many mock-ups as possible. I think I did 3, I can't remember, but it's really good to have mock-up interviews before, and that's your own personal timeline. So there's a few things that you need to do. There are I know people who take the time. So as soon as the application open, they take that time to write questions to themselves as like a reflective process, and that's part of their timeline. So there is the application timeline, and then you should also have like a personal timeline of what you're going to be doing during those times, because once the applications are in April, there's nothing else you have to do. You just chill, relax, try your best to not think too deeply about it, and just pray and hope for the best. But yeah, I think that's the timeline. So from now, in conclusion, you submit in April, and then you hear back at the end of October if you've made it, of course, and the middle emails telling you that you've gone through the different rounds.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sajal. That was quite broad. I wonder if Awonke John, you have anything to add on to that whole window for application, and just to be sure that for this application, it's for the cohorts 2026. It's not for the cohorts 2025. If that's correct. Yeah. So John probably could tell us more about the benefits that one should expect when it comes to this scholarship. I know Humairaa had already mentioned about, your tickets will be funded for the interviews, but then I'm not sure about the visa fees. Are they going to be paid for for countries that would require visas to enter South Africa? Because again, South Africa is not open to all African countries. And also, is this scholarship open to all African nations or just specific African countries? Maybe you could expound more on that. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think I love the conversation. So on the part of funding, yes, it is indeed a fully funded scholarship. That means that it caters for your tuition. It also caters for your living expenses. That means that you receive a stipend that is, it is reasonable and sustainable for your stay in South Africa. Yeah. And then also you get to receive your medical expenses are covered in the sense that you get signed up for medical insurance scheme. And also you get to have a conference where you can attend one academic conference, which is catered for. You can also, a part of research costs can be covered by the foundation up to a certain limit. And also there are other benefits that come along. I mean, like what Humairaa was saying about the conferences, the workshops, the 3 workshops that take place throughout the year, they are catered for fully funded by the foundation. So it's also a good time to connect and reconnect with other people, because over the course of the year, you get to engage in a leadership workshop. But also the scholarship is open to all African member states. I mean, African nations in the continent, north, east, south, west, and even central. I mean, so, and there have been an encouragement to open up to the rest of the continent. We have predominantly, I think, been in Southern Africa and East Africa and West, but now they're also big and keen on expanding to the north. So there have been efforts to also include the Arabic and French-speaking countries into the program. But one of the requirements is that you must be an English speaker, because, I mean, South African education is offered in English. The medium of instruction is English. So you need to be well-versed with English, even as you apply. I think those are the questions that you asked. I don't know whether I missed out on any. Did I, Trish?
No, John, but I just want to add a follow-up in regards to the 3 conferences. Are they all related to the scholarship itself, or it's just conferences on other aspects, maybe a conference on health, conference on climate change? And also, one thing that I've gathered is with this scholarship, it doesn't put you in one institution the way the Rhodes Scholarship does. It brings you all to Oxford. But with this one, I see you're scattered across Cape Town. So what are the dynamics of people who come from institutions that are quite far? Is there a central point for your scholarship? The way here we have a Rhodes House. Sorry to refer to Rhodes Scholarship here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is an essence in which, so when you're applying for the scholarship, you can apply to any university in South Africa. So like right now, the applications are open for the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, which will be closed in a couple of, I think, 2 weeks or so, like 11 days, as you said. But then after that, I think also university applications will open up. So would encourage students to apply to as many universities as possible. I mean, you have to ensure that you secure admissions, because if you get the scholarship opportunity, you cannot take up the scholarship if you don't have admissions to one of the universities in South Africa. So that's a point to note. So I would encourage people who are applying to consider looking at the universities they have interest in, and trying to see the application timeline, the application requirements, and start working on it. But also the students who make it to other universities outside Cape Town, because the Mandela Rhodes offices are actually in Cape Town. So the workshop happens in Cape Town, unless it's going to change this year. But in the recent past, for over 20 something years, there have been the workshops have been happening in Cape Town. So all the other scholars in other provinces, because South Africa has provinces, let's say the Gauteng region, which is comprises of Pretoria, Johannesburg, they get flown into Cape Town by the foundation. It is catered for by the foundation. So they get to come, spend a week together, and then after the week, people go back to the to school. But the workshop, the way they are structured, actually, even me, I was thinking when I was joining the scholarship, I thought that, we would go and debate about Africa, transformation, talk about leadership, and really have that mindset of, we want to change Africa. But when we came, it was so interesting because it was so much about internal work as a leader. So there was an emphasis of the inner healing, the inner being of you as a person. And there is a lot of that emphasis. So there is a lot of focus on inner being and inner well-being, inner healing, inner reconciliation, and even reconciliation with the society, with individuals, backgrounds and all that. So, I mean, the leadership workshop, the way they are structured is so much, they have a program, of course, they run, but there is an emphasis on inner person and inner work. So the first workshop, I can't, I don't want to preempt so much on what happens in the workshop, because also you get to experience it by yourself. But there is an emphasis on inner leadership, inner healing, but there is also reconciliation. The second workshop has a component of reconciliation, and of course, you will get to connect with other scholars even as you get to finalize, and that is building on the work of others as you finalize the workshop on the third workshop. Yes. That's on the first year's workshop. And the second years, they also have a program. It's called the second year's program that is completely different to what we do, but it's also a build up to what we did in our first year.
Okay. Thank you very much, John, for that kind response. I want to know you have really waited for your chance to also speak into your insights. I really would love to understand how also your application process was at Awonke. If there's anything that you'd want to add up onto what Humairaa, Sagel, or John added, then further to that, you can now speak into what are the required documents for this application? Do you need just a CV and transcripts, etc.? I know Sagel talked about having referees. What's the kind of advice that you're going to give to people in regards to referees? Because I know people can submit their applications, but if you don't have referees for some scholarships, they basically disqualify you for that. Yeah, so Awonke maybe could add on to that.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, John, there's a question that you posed, and I was hoping that maybe you can answer the question later on about the visas, if the foundation funds the visas, or maybe you can keep that for later, John. But I think for me, the first application I got accepted in my second application for the scholarship. My first application, I think I did it in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And then because of my 3 references that were not submitted by the recommenders. So I want to make an emphasis that if you're making an application, please do make sure that you follow up with the people that recommend you, because without those 3 references, your application cannot go any further. So you just need to make sure. And also about the people that are coming from outside South Africa, it is very important that you, before making any application, so that you don't get disappointed at a later stage, make sure that your South African Qualifications Authority, SAQA in short, or SAQA, make sure that it is in line with the South African standards, right? And also you should be you should be an English speaking person, because everything, the studies in South Africa are done in English. And at the time of application, you should be between 19 and 29, right? And therefore it's very important to check also if you're an undergrad, then you're gonna do your honors. Just make sure that you calculate your average. And then if it should be above 70%. But and then if you're applying for masters and also your honors, they say should be an upper class, and meaning that it has to be 70 to 74 above. However, I'm not sure. Someone will correct me. According to upper class standards, some institutions, I'm not sure about our MRF if it does take people who have got an average of 65% in honors, but upper class also encompasses 65% for honors applying for masters. I'm not sure if there's something that I think one of you guys will correct me on that. And yeah, my emphasis is on the 3 recommenders, and then make sure that you calculate your marks. And then when doing your essay, just I know there's AI now, you understand? And now the question that I will have for you, if just think about how many people who are going to take whatever topic has been given to you guys, who are going to put it in AI, and therefore phrase it according to what AI states. And then let's say here I am, I'm one of the panelists who reviews the essay. And then I'm looking at this essay, and then I'm looking at this essay. So you understand the challenge that comes with AI. So be true to yourself, sit down and make sure that you write the essay according to your own way. Because the minute you go to the internet, I think it would be the biggest mistake that you ever going to make for the application process. Just make sure that you write what you think is correct for you, because AI is going to provide relevant answers across let's say if there are 50 scholars who used AI, and then I don't know what will the panel do in that case. Yeah, but that's that on my side. Please, John, clarify the issue of visa. Thank you so much.
Okay. Should I go, Trish?
Yeah, you can go ahead. But also there's a question on English eligibility. I know you've talked about you must be speaking English, but do people need to do the English test to prove that they can, discuss in English? So yeah, John, you could just add to that.
Okay. Yeah, so the part of the visa, it's so this is it. I don't know whether things will change this year, because last year I heard that Mandela Rhodes Foundation catered for the SAQA certification. It's quite a costly expense, but last year they did cover. I don't know whether they will cover it this year. But also there was also the aspect of so I mean those are things that happen. Things change in a particular year. That's why I don't want to fix my eyes and say, this is how it is done. But as far as I'm concerned, the trajectory over the past years, it has been that the candidates, by that time you're a candidate, you cover for yourself the visa fee. Yeah, so some countries it's free, some countries you have to pay. Like there was a time when we were doing the interviews in Kenya, you had to pay, but Kenya and South Africa got to an agreement where you just fly in and then that's it. But some countries, it's a very complicated process. Nigeria in the house, and some other West African countries, it's really complicated. But don't stress out, because there is nothing that you can do as of now. And as far as the visa may take months and months before it's processed, there are some who get frustrated, because even in our cohort, there was a Nigerian scholar who had to do the interview virtually because they were denied the visa. And the visa, by the time it was coming out, it was too late. So I say those are things that are beyond your scope, because you can't start the visa application until you get the letter to confirm that you've been invited for an interview. And that letter comes from the Mandela Rhodes Foundation later in August. So I just that's what I can mention. Maybe Awonke can talk about the English test and qualifications.
Oh, okay. I think I saw that today when I was just looking on the website on the program. But it's I would say it's a new thing, because I remember during my application, it wasn't there. So it is just to check if you are able to understand English. Then you take those 3 tests that they're going to check your understanding and your eligibility, if you indeed understand English. So those 3 tests are there just to confirm. But yes, as I've said before, that you must be an English speaking person in order for you to be one of the scholars. Yeah, as I said, it's new on this in the website. I just saw it today. But I think it's just a form of that for the conversation purposes and for the academic purposes.
Okay, that's fine. I will also reshare the link to the application website just here that I believe Humairaa had reshared it earlier. So now back to you, Humairaa. Looking back at the application process in your essays, are there things that you would recommend people to do or not do, or the things that you wished you had done better? I know you got the scholarship, but are there other things that you feel like, nah, if I did this, probably, I don't know, if it would have been better, or yeah.
I think in the chat I popped down a few basic things about what I would recommend including in the essay. And it's basically about making sure your unique voice shines through. And to paraphrase Awonke, be true to yourself. My hot take is be careful of reviewing. So for both the Mandela Rhodes and the Rhodes Scholarship, and in fact, everything that I've applied for, I've never had anyone check my personal statement. I can't exactly put it down to one thing, but I think that my sense is that I want to be sure that what I'm putting through is me. Especially when you go into like elements of your personal story and your personal statement. And I think that as many people who will review your personal statement will have different opinions. And it's important to not make the mistake of trying to Google scholarship statements and trying to fit that. Because the point is that when your application is being reviewed, you're not sitting in front of them. You know, the reviewer is not looking you in the eye and hearing your story. It's very digital or paper-based. And you need to find a way of making your voice stand out and really tell your own story. And as Awonke mentioned, you know, the very nature of ChatGPT or a large language model is that it tends to standardize these types of things. So it actually works against this purpose of this objective of making you stand out. And so I really would caution against writing your statement using ChatGPT. To be realistic, if you like, I don't see any harm in, for instance, using it to spell check, making sure that you have no grammatical errors. But tools like Grammarly or even Microsoft Word has an automatic spell check feature that could check that for you. But please don't write your entire statement using ChatGPT. I was a teaching assistant in my previous institution, and I could definitely tell when students use ChatGPT. If you've seen enough ChatGPT submissions, you begin to just spot it. And it's very easy to tell. And this is not just like a Turnitin or detector or some kind of thing. It's just in the style of the writing and even the grammar. Like, for instance, it uses em dashes quite a lot. So I would be careful about that. I'm not sure if I could go back, would I have changed my statements? I mean, considering how things worked out, probably not, or I wouldn't have tried to like review them, have them reviewed by someone else. I think that was one way of forcing myself to make sure that it was coming from me, and it's what I wanted to put down. And so whatever the outcome was, I can stand by that. And I think it's really important to be honest about what you want to study, why you want to study it, your journey. I remember in my interviews and even in my applications, I've always kind of taken the risk of authenticity. And it can be really scary saying what you think instead of what you think they want to hear. But I think that it really shines through when you are being authentic and when you are being honest. And at the end of the day, no one knows your motivations behind why you're doing this better than you. So it's also worth spending some time reflecting. I'm a big fan of reframing. So look at this process and the application process as like, as it spans from the essays and the questions to the interview, as it's a great thing if the scholarship does emerge out of it. But even if it doesn't, the benefit is that you're getting the opportunity to really examine what you want. You're getting the opportunity to really look deep into what drives you and what motivates you and what impact do you want to create on the world. So I would say, like, don't take that lightly, because that's a really useful experience in getting to know yourself. And I would suppose the last thing I would say would be the word count is there for a reason. Don't go over the word count, but also use the word count as a guideline or as to the depth of the response that they're trying to gauge. I'm always wary of going too much underneath the word count, because I don't think that you would then answer the prompt or the question in as much detail as you need to.
Thank you. Awonke, do you want to add something into our shift? No? Okay, Sagel, over to you.
Yeah, so I think I will give a different view on this. I think it's good to go online and check other people's personal statements. And the reason why I say that is because we all come from different backgrounds, and there are certain things we're not exposed to just because of like where we're coming from and what we've seen. So on the one hand, if you are coming from, for instance, a high school or a university that's, well accomplished, it's like you get to engage with certain topics and certain styles of writing regularly. Like it's kind of there, it's always around you, that it becomes, it kind of sips into the way you speak, the way you do things. So I think it's important. And then for someone who is coming from another side where they're not exposed to certain languages, certain words, I think it's important for them to see the examples of what people in those environments have written. So personally, I definitely did go online and just check, like, what are people writing for? And for me, that was a good process to kind of see how free to be, because on the one hand, people tell you, be yourself, be true to yourself. Okay, but what if I'm a joker and I like making jokes? Is it allowed? So for me, it was really useful to go online and just see, okay, what have people actually written? Was it helpful? Not really, but it was nice to just see like what is possible. And I found some really good essays of people just being themselves and being vulnerable. So that's one thing that I wouldn't have been if I didn't know it was okay. And I think it's important for people to know what's okay, not necessarily to kind of dictate what you're going to write, but to just show you the possibilities. And then the second thing, like Humairaa kind of pledged, like she didn't get any help. I didn't use any AI. Like I've never used any AI for my applications for scholarships. And the reason I don't is literally the same thing Awonke said. Like, what if someone does the same, like asks the same prompt, and we have the same answer, and then we're writing the same thing? Like it's bad. So that was one of my worries. But also, like, I just want to emphasize that it really is about yourself. Like they don't. The other thing I think we also need to think about it is like, you're not becoming a Mandela Rhodes scholar by applying to the scholarship and being accepted. Technically, by you being able to apply, we're all technically Mandela Rhodes scholars, just that everyone can't get the opportunity at the same time. So your confidence is really important, like believing that I am this person they're looking for and I can provide these things. The scholarship doesn't make me, but I am making the scholarship. It's the scholars that make the scholarship. It's not the name that makes us, So just believing in yourself, because sometimes you might have a really good story and then you feel shy and like, oh my God, do people at this level say such things? Oh, well, it's not about if you say it, that means yes, they do. So whatever you do, you set the trend. Like you're the person. So it's okay. So just like so for your personal statement, I think and any essay is to be really true to yourself. Make sure that your values are shining through. If you like, I am very opinionated, and I think I have really strong values, and I didn't shy from that. So don't shy from coming off too strong if that's your personality. Like if you're a very strong person and that's how you like to frame things, that's how you see the world. It's about like your perspective of the world. And I think on the journey of changing the world and trying our best, everybody's input is important, and it's the difference that makes it so cohesive, and it's the difference that makes it beautiful. So you might, and one of the other fears I had, I remember when I was preparing for my interview, I was like, what can I ask these people that they don't know? I was like, these people have heard it all, they've been here for years. Like, what can I ask them? And I remember sitting for a very long time thinking of a question I can ask them, and I was so scared. So I guess if there's one thing I would have changed, is just tell myself, you know, you don't have to be so scared. Like, just ask what you genuinely want to know. And I'm glad that, like, I really went there and I asked what I wanted to know. And for me, that question, even if I got the scholarship or not, if I had gotten it or not, I would have appreciated having that answer forward in my journey. So I also resonate with what Humairaa said in the list, like just reflect on your journey. I think reflection is the best part of this. Write as many times as possible. And the first time you write as long as possible. So don't care about the word limit the first time you write. Like your first draft should just be everything, like a vomit on the page. Because for some of us, Mandela Rhodes application would have been the first time you sat down to really reflect on your journey and what it means. Maybe you've applied for scholarships before, but it was more like, what can you do for society? What is your vision? I feel like Mandela Rhodes changes it. It's almost like, okay, what is the role you've been playing? Like you're the actor. What change are you driving within yourself and within the community around you? So it becomes very personal. And I think that kind of reflection is really a great opportunity for you to just kind of make sense of your journey so far. And the other thing also, I'm sorry I'm speaking so much, I just have so many things about the application. The last thing is that, for us, I'm speaking from my perspective, I had a lot of things that looked very different. And I was just thinking, if someone looks at my CV, they'll be so confused. They're like, why did you do this? And why? And someone also might be sitting there listening right now, and you're just looking at your CV. You're like, how the flip am I supposed to talk about a journey? There's no journey here. I was just going door to door, this door open, and I went in. So it was, I found myself like, it was really hard to kind of write a cohesive essay that made sense. So then I just had to sit down and think, okay, what is the common thing about all these things? What was I looking for? So I think if you're able to answer the question of like, what was I looking for in these places, it makes it so much beautifuler. And then by doing that, I was able to find a cohesive story. So ask yourself this question, like, why am I doing this? What am I looking for? What are my values? And I think by answering those questions, you'll be able to really formulate a personal statement that's yours, because there are many people in your field. You might even have the same vision, but the reason to do it might be different. And the way that you envision how it should happen can also be different. So don't try to sell yourself short, because you might be 10 people from the same faculty applying to the same program. So it's about your own personal story to that really matters. And don't sell yourself short. Yeah, just be yourself and trust yourself and be confident. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sagel. That was quite broad, and thank you for sharing that. Awonke, as John comes back to the camera, Sagel has talked about the interview process and her looking for that one question that she wanted to really ask. So it got me thinking, say, assuming we have been shortlisted for the interview, how is the interview like? Do they ask you things related to the program that you have chosen? Are they technical? Or it's more of just trying to understand who you are?
Okay, thank you. And you know, the questions are really surprising, because you go there, you prepare so many questions. Like you know, when you're making application for a job, the question, tell us about yourself. Why do you think we should hire you, and all those kind of questions. But you know, when you get there, it's just a different atmosphere. You understand, and the questions wants to understand the true you. Hence, I'm saying I think someone has mentioned that don't try to be someone like don't raise like don't speak too much of yourself. You understand? I've achieved this. We know for the fact that you've made it far to this application and all the processes that you went through, you have done so much. But now we want to understand you as a person, not you as what you've accomplished. We saw your letter, we saw your CV, your statement. We saw everything about you. But now we just want to get to know you beyond the CV or beyond the recommenders letters. You see, so for me, I wouldn't say like specific questions, you know, but it's just the questions to get to know you as a. Don't sell yourself. Just be you. I remember one of the questions they asked me was, "What is my favorite meal?" So, and I just had to provide an answer to that. So it's those questions that you wouldn't expect to be asked in the interview. So that's how interesting the MRF interview is.
Okay, thank you. So I've been through a Rhodes Scholarship interview, and the setup was me at the front with about, I think, 10 people in the room. Yeah, so in Kenya, basically from all the applications, they shortlist just 8 candidates. And I'm talking about the Rhodes Scholarship to Oxford, not the Mandela Rhodes. And it was more of you with a panel of about 10 people, and somehow that was intimidating. Is it the same case for this one? Or it's just you and 3 people?
I'm not sure if there's anyone to answer, but I think for me, I had 5 people. But you can answer, Humairaa.
Sure. No. Please go ahead and finish Awonke, and then I'll go.
No, I'm done. Like the panel, it was me,
Okay.
and then just 5 people, like sitting around the table all together. Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear Sajal's take on this one, but I definitely felt MRF was less scary than Rhodes, because MRF, I think there were just 3 people in mine, and it was me, and they were across the table. And Rhodes was a bit different. So Rhodes was, I think there were 10 people in the room, 8 people around the table, some people taking notes, some people observing. And so Rhodes was definitely a different kettle of fish. I wouldn't try, like, even though there are overlaps in these scholarships, I wouldn't say that they're identical or to conflate the expectations. So like, I wouldn't say look up Rhodes Scholar statements on the net and think that you can make that fit here, because a lot of what you find on the net related to the Rhodes Scholarship specifically is very American, and the way their constituencies select is quite different to an African context. And I wouldn't try to force fit something that is very catered to the US to the African context or to your country's context. But in terms of the interview, yeah, it's definitely not as scary as other interview processes. I felt comfortable. I don't think you should be too afraid of the interview process, and that should influence, like, I think it's something that if you have concerns about that, I'd say put that aside for now and focus on getting your application in. And then once you're in, that's something that you can worry about. But it's not scary. It felt like a chat. They gave us snacks as well. And what I really like about MRF, which I didn't experience in my Rhodes interview, was that they bring scholars in residence and alumni to like the interview waiting room to like have a chat with you and make you feel at ease while you're waiting to be interviewed. And that really helps to calm you down. You're also in Nelson Mandela's former home. So as a South African, I was having huge fangirl moments. And that was in the waiting room for my interview, was actually where I met a really close friend from my MRF cohort, and we both ended up being selected, Charisma. So it's a great opportunity to also just get to know a bunch of other really interesting people. Don't be too scared about it. Literally approach it as a chat. And I think that would probably give you the best, like, obviously no one's saying that to speak to them as if they're your friends and to not take the question seriously. But I think at the end of the day, realize that they're also just people. And your worth is not defined by you having a seat at that table or not.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. For me, at this point where I am, I've decided to take all interviews that come forward as basically a chat between me and them, trying to understand who I am and what I'm doing. So it should be the same case for this scholarship. And honestly, I don't think interviewers always want to penalize people. I think they just want to get the best out of you by, interviewing you. So, John, there's a point you talked about you can apply to as many institutions as you want. So then there's this question of, do you apply with the same course or same program? Would you advise people to do that? Or people can apply with different courses to different universities, then probably select later? Or what would you advise them to do?
Yeah. So I would say that it is prudent for somebody to do an internal evaluation of exactly what you want. And the reason why I'm saying that, it's because when you get the scholarship, of course you need to hurry up, do all you can to get admissions, but at the same time you get to know that, and you are equally qualified. Many times I think we struggle with imposter syndrome. So you wonder, man, when I apply to this university, will they accept me? Will I be able to make the cutoff? Because many institutions in South Africa South Africa has the best institutions in the continent in terms of higher learning. So, like, talking about somebody coming from East Africa, I would say that you feel like, the classes also are very specific, in the sense that they have a select number of candidates every year. So you can find a class has a cutoff of 20. So once it's beyond 20, that's it. So sometimes you can even see in the website and you feel intimidated. You are like, will I be able to make it to be among the 20? And I think that can make you, that it can take two approach. One, you can just decide to, just kind of undervalue yourself, in the sense that now you just want to go for anything that comes by. The other angle and perspective would be that now you would be very resolute and firm, and give your best foot forward. Like, have a wonderful application. You have to really have a wonderful application, so that you can show the select committee that indeed you're qualified to join their institution. So having said that, I would say, having done internal evaluation, like for me, I knew I wanted to do economics. So in that form, I knew the institution that I would apply. I knew UCT, University of Cape Town, is very competitive. And I had also looked at Stellenbosch University. So when I had applied to those institutions and those two universities, at some point, I think I got fearful. And this is what I mean. Fearful in the sense that I was like, man, guys, the UCT hasn't gotten back to me. Mandela Rhodes has already told me that I backed the scholarship. And so I thought about University of Witwatersrand, and I went ahead and I threw in my application, and I was in a frenzy mode. I was panicking. Only for a few days later, I got an email from UCT. Congratulations, you've been offered admissions, a firm offer. It was not even a conditional, it was a firm offer in place. And I think that it was a learning moment. So for me, one of the things I usually tell scholars who are aspiring, that's candidates, is to cast your net wide, in the sense that apply to universities that you feel you wouldn't mind having this program in this university. You wouldn't mind, so you can choose, like, focusing on a particular course. So like economics, you apply to maybe 3 universities. I'm giving economics because at least that I can relate to. And then maybe also looking at a university. You look at the University of Cape Town. University of Cape Town, when you apply, I think you get a chance to apply to 3 programs, if I'm not wrong. Somebody from UCT here, I think to apply 3 or 2. So among the 3 programs, you know very well, if you're not selected in all of them, you can at least get one, And when you apply to all the other, maybe 3 universities, same course, you are sure that if you miss out here, you can get here, you can get here. So I think that's also what needs to be done. I think, I hope that helps, but just be very keen on what you want to do. If you want to do climate change, go for it. Apply to 3 universities. If you want to really study at UCT or Stellenbosch, then look for 3 programs that are being offered there, and then ensure that you give in your best application so that you don't miss out on all of them, at least you get one. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, for that response, I didn't realize that my mic was on, so probably guys must have had me type. Yeah. So, one question that I have for you, Awonke, or anyone can decide to answer is, I know that people, when they're drafting their personal statements, they draft them in a manner of, I am from Africa. I'm from this part of Africa where we don't have money. I'm the poorest, and this scholarship will really mean a lot to me and my family back home. Is this scholarship based on merit or based on, poverty? In quotes, poverty, but the way, the way people expect that scholarships are to be offered to people who don't have money. So what do you guys say about that? Yeah. I don't know. One, do you want to say something
Oh, okay.
about it? Yeah.
I think I can answer the question just sharing the experience that I had. I was just speaking to, we had an alumni event here in Joburg. So I was just speaking to the alumni, and they were just sharing stories based on their years of residence. And then I think, I'm not sure what year was it, maybe 2018 or 2019, in their cohort. So there were some guys which didn't even really need the scholarship. So I remember one of the alumni was saying, as we were asking ourselves, how come that such people, these guys, still have got money when we are still waiting for second payment, and then they're not even worried about not having money. So it's not really based on how much you have and how much you don't have. So it's about you and what you can give as an individual. I'm not sure if you guys you've got your different experiences and different explanation, but honestly, it's not based on like supporting poor people or rich people. It's just a scholarship, I would say, like that. And just to add on what John said, I think it is very important that even indeed people apply to even more than 4 institutions if it's possible, because you're just broadening up your applications, and they can eventually get accepted in any. So it's good that you apply. Humairaa, I just wanted to say something. I think so.
Yeah, I think there's two questions in this that I hear. The first is, does the scholarship consider your financial situation? No, it's entirely merit-based. You don't have to submit any finance, like it's not a bursary. The second question, and I think the more interesting one, is should the scholarship consider your financial situation, especially considering that one of the key underpinning principles of the MRF is reconciliation. And we can't speak about reconciliation without speaking about reparations. And so I guess that's an interesting thing to think about, but also an interesting question for the MRF. And I will say that on the financial element, something that's standing out is that you don't get paid per month. You get paid in tranches of 2 payments. And I think your first payment is bigger than your second because you get paid for like study allowance and settling in allowance and that kind of thing. So if you're someone who is a big spender, put that money away, and otherwise you may be tempted to splash the cash, and then you may run out before you have your second allowance, and that could cause some issues. So be careful about how you spend. It's because for some people that's the first time you're getting such a huge sum of money at once. And just be careful. And make sure you have in place a budget. On the other question about a poverty kind of narrative or like a need scarcity mindset narrative in your essay, I would say, obviously, your application is up to you, but think about how you would feel putting that about yourself out there. Like, is that what you want to define yourself? Just from a dignity standpoint, we know that there are stereotypes around coming from Africa, and think about the way you shape your narrative. Does it perpetuate those stereotypes? I would counteract my own viewpoint by then saying, if that's what the stereotype that people have already, are you not just, interacting with the system that is at play? But I will say that from my experience of the reviewers and from my experience of the panelists, you are speaking to people who understand the context of our continent. You're speaking to people who come from our continent. They aren't like European or American people reviewing the applications or interviewing you. So I don't see any reason to try and downplay the true reality of things. I think just purely coming from a deprived background is not enough to get you the scholarship. So like you need to have something else. Like I would say that regard the scholarship as an investment. Purely like if the only differentiating factor between you and someone else is that you come from a deprived background and they don't, perhaps that will then play a factor. But purely like thinking that that will be enough to secure the scholarship, I don't think that'll be enough. You still have to articulate, a compelling position of why the scholarship will be pivotal to your future, why the next course of study that you're proposing to go on to will actually further your professional and personal aims. So yeah, I want to hear Sagel's thoughts on this.
So, well, I think it's all about framing, yeah. Like I think people, okay, let's start from. Okay, first of all, I do understand, like I hear what everyone is saying, and I do agree that it's not a defining factor. Like it's not, but I do think it should a little bit. But it's all about framing, I believe, that it's important to know how to frame your story. So if, let's say you're an advocate for poverty and you genuinely believe that poor people should continue to complain, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's like your activism point of view and that's what you believe that you should be doing, bring it up, but it's about how you frame it, yeah? Like if you're framing it from the point of, I believe that it's important for people to voice their problems and for them to be heard, and that's how I want to go about, like Humairaa said, like it's about how you want to show up. If that's how you want to show up, then go for it. But I think it's important to know why you're doing it. If you're doing it just because you want to be felt sorry for, I don't think that's a good reason to do it for. You should do it just to kind of like, if that's really your narrative and that's how your narrative has been shaped so far, because some people, that is really how their narrative has been shaped. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with being shaped by poverty, if you get what I mean. I don't think there's a problem with that, but it becomes a problem if that becomes your defining factor, because at the end of the day, this is a scholarship and there's all these other things. Like for instance, there's a leadership program, there's all these things. They want to be able to bring someone who will succeed in a university environment and where the investment would make sense. So if you think for yourself, would I invest in someone because I feel sorry for them, or would I invest in someone because I feel sorry for them and I also believe that they will actually, succeed in this new environment? So it's important that your outlook is not that I'm poor and feel sorry for me. More like, look, I came from the circumstances, but look what I've done with my situation and this is where I want to go. You can't hear. Can everybody else hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay, Awonke, it's a you problem. So but you also can't hear that. But like I think it's important to know how to frame and to also think that, as I said, this is an investment and you want to go somewhere where you will genuinely succeed. It's not like John was saying, it's not easy to apply to these institutions. Now imagine actually surviving in these institutions. It's hard to study and you don't want your poverty or your circumstances to be the answer to that, because the question will be, will this person succeed at UCT? And then the answer can't be yes, they will, because they've faced hardships. That can't be the answer. So you need to give them an answer that makes sense. So even if you're going to use your circumstances, make sure that you frame it in a way that still makes sense. That would be my take on that. But in terms of like, what do you call this? There's an animal that has these like very big wings. I forgot what it's called. It's not ostrich, but there's an animal that kind of flares there behind, and then there's all these colorful things. I forgot what it's called. So if you want to do that for your poverty, do it. I feel like it's important to talk about these things and make people feel uncomfortable from time to time. Nothing wrong with that. Peacock. Yes. peacock your poverty, guys. I am an advocate for that. So do what you got to do, but just make sure that it's framed well, because at the end of the day, it makes for a good story. A good story is a good story, you know, like a little bit of sadness looks good on the story if that's how you want to frame it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but just be careful. Don't make it the pinnacle of your essay. I don't think you should do that, or your application.
Just to add on, I think one useful framing. Sorry, Trish.
Oh, please go ahead, Humairaa.
Okay. I was just saying, I think one framing of this is, do you want to look like a victim, or do you want to make it seem like you're resilient and you can overcome hardships? Because you can speak about the exact same situation, but the impression of the reader can be completely different. And I think you do want to build that narrative of resilience, determination. One example that I think a lot of us have in common, and a lot of people tend to speak to in this kind of thing, is, I'm the first person in my family to finish high school, let alone go to university. I think those kinds of narratives are more empowering personally and from a framing narrative point of view than, woe is me.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah, John, actually, I was gonna throw it to you. As you say something, also, I would want you to answer one of the questions in the chat. Are there specific causes that the scholarship focuses on? But please say what you were gonna say.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you get to learn is I know because I've tested the scholarship, is that you get to learn an aspect called storytelling. And I think the danger of reviewing students' essays and candidates' essays, I want to frame it this way. The way I look at it is that you try to give them a perspective that you'd feel like this one would fit to an MRF story, an MRF and a Mandela Rhodes Foundation story. But when you go through the scholarship, you get to realize that there is a powerful tool which many of us are not exposed to in the African and kind of education system. The concept of storytelling. There is a way you can give your story. And I think that has been mentioned here time and again. We are circling around the same thing, that there is a way you can give your story, and your story is like, wow. When a reviewer reads through your story, they're like, can I meet this person? That even if you don't get a scholarship, they just want to meet you in person. But there is a way we give our stories as Africans, and this is bad to say that is even a problem to just generalize all the Africans together. That's a stereotype. But there is a way we give our stories in a sense that we want to look like Woshe. Woshe in Swahili means my God, I need it. I'm so down. Look where I have come. And the way you want to give it is like, it's not so much about resilience. It's like that mindset of you want to attract the attention of the donor. So I think you can look around, and the way to help you maneuver around your application is to maybe look at, how do I give this story in a way that is authentic, but also would want the reader or the reviewer would want to meet the person behind the face, behind to meet the face behind the writing. So I think, and that's one thing that was mentioned. I was asking myself, why does the Mandela Rhodes Foundation fly all of us? Like during our year, we were probably around 60 people who were flown into South Africa from all over the continent. Yet they selected 40, 30 something. We were 38 or something. Why would they have to fly everyone? And for me, one of the arguments I would say is that they really want to meet these people who have written these stories. They want to connect with them. They want to see them in person. And so I think the way we tell our stories have a very big impact on many, many things in life, including many other things that are beyond the scholarship, even jobs, opportunities, even relating with members of different people in the community that we interact with. There is a way we give our stories, and they have profound impact to people around us and even to ourselves. But to answer the question that has been asked about the scholarship, whether it caters for particular courses, I would say not that I have heard of. Yeah, I think that has been answered. Yeah, thank you, Humairaa. That is well answered. From music to accounting to neuroscience. Yeah, you meet people who have such a funny hair like mine, and in the scholarship, you meet well-knit people like Awonke. You meet all kind of people. People who are doing theater. You're like, wow, what do you do? I do theater and dance. You're like, wow, the scholarship caters for that. Yeah, because there is also a way our minds have been tuned to think that, some particular courses are economics, accounting, medicine. But when you hear somebody doing theater, dance, then there's some even scientific name given to it. So yeah, so the scholarship caters for all courses in all major universities, I think, in South Africa.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for that explanation. There is this question here. I would love for you, Sharon, to explain it, but I'll read it. Then, if anyone understands it, then they can respond to it. But if not, Sharon, probably you might want to expound further. So you're asking if we would advise for a final year student to apply for scholarship prior to graduation later in the year, if they can only provide transcripts without the degree certificate. But I think what your question basically means is, can somebody who is in their final year apply for this program so long as they graduate before then? Yeah. So they're all nodding. Awonke, probably you can test your mic. Do you want to respond to that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, person can apply on their last year. I think there are two things which we have to consider in doing so. If you are still writing your exams, just make sure that your average doesn't drop, because it has to be above 70 or 70. And then you must make sure again that on the 1st of January, you are done for the following year, you are done with your previous qualification. Yes, you can apply, but considering those two aspects. I'm not sure if you want to add something, Humairaa or Sagel, on this.
And just onto that, you've talked about it has to be above 70. Depending on countries, for my country, Kenya, 70 is a distinction or a first class. But I think I'm aware of somebody who had a second class upper and got to this program. Do they bend lower for people with first class only? I mean, do they just select people with first class only, or do they also take people with second upper? Awonke.
I'm not sure about the grading system of other countries, but I think I've mentioned something before, like honors upper class, and then I was saying that it's 70 to 74. And then, however, some institutions like in South Africa, if you have 65%, you can still be admitted, for example, for honors. But according to upper class, it means that 65% is indeed an upper class. Therefore, it can be accepted, if I'm not making a mistake in that. And then 70%, I don't know how they count on other countries, as I've just shared before that. I don't know the grading system. Like some are using AGP, so I don't know.
Yeah, I see Humairaa has also commented, also for the first part of the question, that she also submitted her interim transcript. And yes, upper second class honors is accepted. So just to make sure that's also clear. And I don't know if we have any more questions. We have just about 9 minutes before I try to wrap this up. Is there a done question that somebody needs to ask?
Oh, I just wanted to add something. I'm not sure if I should wait for people to ask or maybe
Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. But I just wanted to share something. Maybe someone might want to know if what happens after, like, yes, I got accepted and now I am an alumni of the scholarship. I'm not sure if I should go now or maybe at the later stage.
Sorry, Awonke, that missed me. Do you want to explain more? Just go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think number one is you get a lifelong membership into the global network of the scholarships. I mean, of the scholarship and the prestigious network of scholars across the African continent. I think it's good that we have people, for example, if I want to go to Kenya, I can just call John, bro, I'm here around, can we hang up? So I think number one is one of those aspects where you can just be with people that you know. And also it provides leadership development, as we have mentioned before, that we go through a rigorous a leadership process. So it's good for a professional growth, for your own professional growth and networking. And sometimes when you apply for other scholarships, it gives you an advantage to, to be a priority in the applications, that, okay, you have been one of the Mandela Rhodes scholars. I know that Rhodes, it takes the Mandela MRF scholars. So it gives you that visibility and influence around the African continent. So it's good. For example, you can be nominated to say you're going to give this award. And obviously, it depends on your contribution beyond just being a scholar, because you just have to go and give back to the society and, mentor people. So and also during your year in residence, you can get allocated to a mentor if you want one, so that they can guide you. If you've got any queries, you've got any questions, you've got like anything you want to ask. Imagine coming from, for example, coming from Kenya, and you don't know anyone in South Africa. So you have someone who is going to mentor you in the program. So it gives you, so it's good because you get to, most people that are graduated from MRF programs, I'm not bragging, but it's people who contribute valuable towards the society. You can meet CEOs, you can meet people that are working as an executives. So if you are, let's say, after the program, you didn't get the job, so it's good for you to network with people that you can resonate and think the same thing with them. So it gives you that upper hand and that kind of visibility up there in the when you're looking for an employment. So it's good. It's good. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Awonke, for talking about the other benefits that one gets being an MRF alumni. There are more questions that have been sent on the chat, but I think they've already been answered. And Humairaa, John, Sagel have still been have been responding to them. So one thing that's clear is just avoid using AI into your applications. Just be the authentic you. But I think you're free to use tools such as Grammarly, the ones that just help you, correct the basics, but not to basically give you a whole different response that another person could get. Then in terms of courses, I heard John saying they even take people who do art and music, if I got that right. So basically, they just want to sponsor you to do whatever you want to do in South Africa, so long as you get it in any institution and so long as you sell yourself the best way that you can, because it's a very competitive scholarship. And I think that's it for the questions that we have in the chat. I have shared their LinkedIn profiles. Feel free to interact with them and be patient on the response time. But I think they're keen on knowing, they're keen that the deadline is about 11 days. The Humairaa was very keen that at this point she's at capacity. So feel free to reach out to John, Sagel, Awonke, but also connect with Humairaa as a friend. She's a lovely person. That one I can attest. So I think that's it for me. I want to thank my panelists today. Thank you for accepting this invite on the very last minute. Okay, Sagel, please go ahead.
So before you end, I just wanted to add that we spent a lot of time talking about how you need to be yourself. And I think we didn't spend time in talk, like, this is still a scholarship. So please do read up on the Mandela Rhodes and understand what the scholarship is about, and also have a think about how they can assist you in your journey moving forward. Like, you've taken yourself this far, how can they take you further? Like, really think about that connection as well. Don't be absorbed, like Awonke mentioned earlier, and also one important thing is that your personal statement is not a repetition of your CV. So just keep that in mind as you're writing, because they have your CV. It is important to kind of re-mention important things, but at the same time also be mindful that they do have your CV. So your personal statement needs to be a bigger kind of a broader and more like it has to be deep. Yeah, let's put it like that. That's the best way to put it. And one thing about the CV, please be as detailed as possible. Like, don't just say things. Really think about your impact in those places. What did you achieve? What happened? Try to be as detailed as possible. And yeah, so that would be the last things for me.
Thank you very much, Sagel. It's quite important for people to realize the importance of doing your research. So we probably have said the much that we can, but probably we might have overlooked one item or so. Please be keen to also doing your own research with our Mandela Rhodes application so that you too can understand it the way we understand it from our own personal perspective. And I think that's it. Can I ask questions later on LinkedIn? I mean, of course, I don't think they have any issue about you reaching out to them and asking questions. They are open to receiving your questions. I think that's it from my end, but I'll just drop my email just in case you get difficulties in reaching out to any.
Yeah, I can mention something quick as we wrap up. We are not limited. The scholarship, the Mandela Rhodes is a big, big family. So don't just limit yourself to us. Go to the website. When I was applying for the scholarship, I went to the website and looked at people who I could connect with. Maybe people doing your course, people who went to the university that you are aspiring to go, or people who come from your country or your neighboring country. You could be one of the first one from your country to be a scholar. So widen your scope. Go to the LinkedIn profiles. Go to the website and then connect them. Connect through the LinkedIn chat. Connect. I mean, it will be a wonderful journey even as you create new networks through this application process.
And yes, so do you have anything to say? Humairaa, your last words. Awonke, Sagel? No? Okay,
I just want to say thank you, Trish. I think it's really great that you organize these sessions for these scholarships, and it's something I wish I had when I was applying for this. So I think you're fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Humairaa, and thank you for the love that you're sharing. So I think that's it from my end. Mine is also wish you the very best in the application process. Sagel talked about having a friend who applied in like 3 days, but don't do that because now you have about 11 days. So start today and now and tomorrow. Reach out to those referees as soon as you can. Those are the people that they will determine whether you get to the next stage or not, as much as if you have a good application. So be keen on reaching out to your referees, reach out to my dear panelists on LinkedIn, stalk people on LinkedIn on who have gone to the institutions that you'd want to go to. Spend more time on the Mandela Rhodes website portal, can't emphasize enough, and also do your further research onto this. And all the very best. So, guys, thank you for being here. It's been 1.5 hours. I can't thank you very much, John, Sagel, Humairaa, Awonke. I know this was, according to me, was very last minute reaching out to you, but you were able to accept my invite and to come onto this short info. I mean, on a short notice to attend to this info and give your personal perspectives on a very natural way. And I believe people have understood the concept and probably they're motivated to go ahead with this application. So that's it, guys. All the very best and have a nice Thursday. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.